I'm Dr. Latrice Rollins, and I'm honored to speak with you about engaging and working with African American fathers in mental health services, which is a chapter in our book entitled Engaging and Working with African American Fathers, Strategies and Lessons Learned. While there is a specific chapter in the book focused on mental health services, several chapters about different types of fathers and services have this common thread of the need for more mental health services and support. Whether it is the father experiencing homelessness, the father taking care of his mother who has been diagnosed with Alzheimer's, the father coming out of prison, African American fathers have a high need for mental health services, yet remain one of the most underserved populations in the field. While we know fatherhood has mental health benefits, and it is a protective factor for children and for fathers, African American fathers are 1.5 times more likely to experience a major depressive episode. The number of adverse social and economic factors that African American fathers face, from racism, discrimination, life events such as work, health, and family, in addition to the feelings of helplessness, hopelessness, and invisibility due to racism and sexism, they all contribute to the mental health conditions of African American fathers. Some African American fathers are also dealing with adverse childhood experiences and unresolved trauma. However, the symptoms of depression and mental illness among these fathers is often underestimated, undiagnosed, and untreated. As with women, fathers will present with feelings of sadness, heaviness, numbness, and sometimes irritability and mood swings. Withdrawal from social situations, indecisiveness, and cynicism are also hallmark signs of depression among adult men. Here is an example of a father who was seeking help for anger management, which turned out to be a form of depression. The client is a 35-year-old African-American married father of 3. He was dealing with anger management issues and how to appropriately discipline his child. We discovered that there was some underlying trauma that was never resolved that was still affecting him. He was open with sharing, so we were able to work through it. We were able to have him identify the norm and understand his relationship with his parents was not the typical parent-child relationship. It was an abusive situation. Resolving his past trauma helped to shed light on how he was interacting with his own family. He was mimicking some of the same negative behaviors that he experienced when he was being raised. After working through it, we acknowledged that his unresolved trauma caused his depression. Depression can manifest itself in many different ways, such as isolation or anger. It can go from one extreme to another. Initially, he came in for anger management, which affected the family and his relationships with other people, but it turned out to be manifesting in depression. Health and social service settings must do a better job of including fathers in mental health assessments. There is a need for culturally relevant, male-specific tools to assess, prevent, and treat mental health issues among African American fathers. Including fathers in family services provides an opportunity for fathers' partners to help identify behaviors and symptoms that the father is not conscious of, and it may allow an opportunity to address issues before they impact the functioning of the father and the family. Our book also highlights the use of motivational interviewing as a best practice with African American fathers. Motivational interviewing recognizes and accepts that fathers who need to make changes in their lives are at different levels of readiness to do so. So this approach allows the staff or the practitioner to tailor the content or the format of their help and services to match the participant's readiness to change. The staff attempts to understand the client's expectations, their beliefs, their perspectives, and their concerns about changing their behaviors. During a visit, the client or the father is expected to do most of the work and most of the talking, while the staff is an engaged problem-solving partner, structuring the conversation using motivational interviewing principles that produce movement toward change. The client makes their own decisions about the change which has been found to also increase their commitment to change. Of all the health concerns faced by African American fathers, mental health challenges may be among the most stigmatized. While African American fathers are less likely to seek care and services, there has been a lack of a healing response, historically and systemically, from many health and human service systems and practitioners. In fact, many of these systems re-traumatize and dehumanize when African American fathers reach out for assistance. Since their arrival on these shores, African American men and fathers are viewed as responsible for any negative situations that they experience and not deserving or worthy of assistance. It's for this very reason that I don't like the Frederick Douglass quote that it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. While that statement might be true, it may be easier to work with children. It implies that working with children is a more worthwhile endeavor. It may be harder to repair broken men, but they deserve just as much attention, and just as much effort, if not more. A healthy African American father helps his child to excel in school and his recreational activities. They help their child to socialize them to navigate racism. They protect their family and their community against crime, and a healthy father prevents his children and his partner from having poor mental health as well as committing suicide. Practitioners need to embrace trauma-informed and healing-centered approaches. A trauma-informed approach assumes that any negative behaviors are the symptom of a deeper harm rather than willful defiance, deviance, or disrespect. It encourages support and treatment to the whole person rather than focusing only on treating symptoms or specific behaviors. A healing-centered approach is holistic, which involves culture, spirituality, civic action, and collective healing. It focuses on experiences, knowledge, skills, and positive traits to be enhanced rather than symptoms that need to be suppressed. Healing-centered approaches highlight the ways in which culture can contribute to healing by focusing on creating a sense of community and belonging. Often, fathers don't feel a sense of belonging in health and human service settings. Fathers often share that they feel ignored or invisible to staff. So there is a lack of safe, trusted spaces for fathers to open up and talk about their mental and emotional health. Our book also describes group work as a way to address this. Groups for African American fathers can provide them an opportunity to change traditional ways of relating to each other and encourage a different kind of support built on better ways of using each other in the community to change their life circumstances. Groups can assist African American fathers understand and balance external issues such as racism and internal issues such as disillusionment, loneliness, and self-doubt. While African American fathers tend to avoid the stigma of engaging in therapy, they enjoy the opportunity to communicate with and learn from others that are facing similar issues. Civic action is also important, particularly here in Georgia, where I am, where we rank 49 out of the 51 states in the number of uninsured males. We have federal parity policies that say that mental health will be regarded by insurance companies as just as important as physical health and will be covered as such. Yet so many of our fathers are uninsured and lack access to care. In March of this year, we held a virtual Fatherhood Leadership Summit with leaders from 11 different sectors with the purpose of developing strategies to promote and support father engagement in Metro Atlanta. One of the strategies that was identified was supporting the inner healing of fathers. The action plan for this strategy includes father-led workshops with other fathers on mental and emotional health, community events to celebrate fathers and discuss mental health coping strategies, and connecting fathers to virtual and in-person group and individual counseling. This highlights that clinical settings are not the only route to healing. Healing can also start in the community with trained and trusted individuals and organizations. African American fathers are willing to get help when they are ready. Therefore, it is really important to meet them where they are and be prepared to assess and address their needs. African American fathers' mental health not only impacts their health, but the health of their children, families, and communities. Now is the opportunity to lead the discourse on the need for and complexities of practice with African American fathers, while social and political attention is focused on the systemic inequities that this population faces.